Okay, before we start into something new, I'm going to do a play along of what we talked about last week, the beginning of Hark. And so here goes, because I want you to have the play along to access right away and maybe warm up with. I'm going to use the metronome at 66 and maybe do one at this speed and then slightly quicker. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's one play along. I will do another one just a little quicker. Take it from 66 up to 70. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully those play-alongs are useful. Going to talk about the arrangement now in the lower, more fuller version. So what I've done here is you'll see a lot of ABs because I wanted to do a little bit more than just, once again, point fingers and say play this. So what we have here is we have different voice leadings. A voice leading is when a note in a chord leads to another note in a chord. That's how harmony is constructed generally. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So if we have like a G chord, so that note up here, that B note, leads to that C in the C chord. Then if I go to an A7, I have that C sharp, and that C sharp would like to go to the D. So that's voice leading. It can happen in the bass too. If I play this inverted D chord, that F sharp here wants to go Now it doesn't have to go there. but when we talk about voice leading, that is what we're talking about. The idea that a note in a chord is sort of magnetically drawn to a particular note. And that's kind of what our ear is comfortable hearing. But very often composers will throw that out the window, and that's okay too. It just kind of wakes our ear up then, because the harmony doesn't go exactly where we expected it to. So anyway, that's what we're going to have here, is not only the arrangement in the lower register, but different voice leadings. So we're going to start with the top line, and that will be the same starting line. So we have now even there we have some voice leading. We have the starting chord, second chord, that B note, and that B note wants to go up to the C. So there's a simple example of voice leading. One more time. Now I could have played that and not put in the B note on the second chord. I could have just done this and just kept that there. And then continue it on. But I wanted to get that voice leading. It creates a little bit more motion and movement in the arrangement, and we've talked about that before. But I just really think it's such an important concept that I want to continue to talk about it, so that as you're learning these arrangements, you think about those things. So when you're playing that first line, be aware I went to that inversion of the G chord because I wanted to have that voice leading from the B to the C. Okay, now when we get to the next line, we have A and B. So you can play either version A or version B as you go through the arrangement. But we're going to talk about the different voice leading in each case. So in version A, we're going to this inverted G chord. There's that B note again. And that B note is going to take us from here up to that C. Then we finish up with so we see a little bit of voice leading in that first measure. Okay, but when we look at version B, we're going to see a little bit more voice leading in the bass. So we have basically the same chord, but we've added the low D in the bottom. So we have the D, going up to the E, going up to the F sharp, so what we have there in the bass is okay, a clear example of voice leading in the bass. So you want to listen for that. And in order to achieve that, we're playing inversions of the chords. We're playing this first chord, which is G, with the D in the bass. The second chord, which is C, with the E in the bass. The third chord, which is D, with the F sharp in the bass, to the G. one, that's in root position. The other ones are inverted. So once again, listen for that when you're playing it. So then I'll play from the beginning. I'll play the top line to version A, the top line to version B. Then version B. Okay, moving on to the next line, line A, we have really no voice leading at all. We're just kind of playing through the chords there. But if we look at version B, we have a little bit more voice leading, especially in the second measure. Getting to the second measure of that B, we have this E note right here, going down to the D note, and then this next chord is a little tricky to get, but you're coming off 3 open strings, so you can kind of prepare your hand. I use pinky 1, 2. It's an inverted A chord. So what we have in that second measure is we have this going. I'll play that entire line B. That chord, like I said, is tricky, but it's one of those things that you can just work on and say to yourself, it's just good to work on it and hopefully someday get it. So I'm going to play it from the beginning using version A and then go to version B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Okay, now going and using the B lines. So hopefully you can hear the differences. And that's why I'm pointing them out. Now we get to the last line A on that page. Sorry. Once again, no real voice leading happening there, just going through the chords. But looking at version B, so right away we have that. Then we get to the second measure in that last line B. So we have that. Once again, that voice leading, that 4 to 5 in those last 2 chords. I'll play that line B again. Compared to line A. so hopefully you can, once again, focus in on those different chords, that voice leading that's happening more so in version B. Looking over at the next page, so what I'm doing here, we have version A and B, and then at the end of each one of A and B, I have the chord that we'll be going to next, just so you can hear the resolution. But that's where we're going to stop on this because I feel like it's a lot. So looking at line A, because that's a B minor 7 chord, 2 open, 2, 3. Here we go. So we have some voice leading there. Primarily look at the bass. We have, we're going from the G to the D. You can hear that bass line crawling up. So try to focus in on that. Listening and really hearing what's going on in your music is important. When I was in college so many years ago, we had what they called listening labs, and all you did is you went in and you listened to the music, but you were listening to it critically. And really what the instructor would do is kind of what I'm doing here, is pointing out, saying, listen for this, listen for that. Because so often we just hear music and we don't, and there's nothing wrong with listening to music purely for enjoyment because you like the song. But when you're, when you're studying music like you are, and you're studying how to play guitar, it's much more enriching to actually focus in on what's happening musically. It makes it more fun to play anytime you understand something, obviously, in life, regardless of what it is. It makes it easier to do and more enjoyable, even if it doesn't make it necessarily easier to do initially. With practice, of course, you can play anything that you want. Looking at line B, okay, let me explain what's happening there. We have the G chord, going to the inverted G, going to the C. Now this is a little tricky, so we're going from the C chord. That might be hard to grab initially. We have that D. What I want to point out primarily is the D in the bass where the pinky is. And then that's going down to the C, which is leading us to the B in the next chord. So that's really the important voice leading, is the second measure of that line. Now that will take some practice, I'm sure. Because I have to think about it when I play it. But it's worth the effort. And the other thing is we have basically two versions that we're going to be looking at while we work on this. And you can actually mix and match A's and B's should you find that you like a particular approach better than one approach more than the other. At some point, if this gets tricky following the lines, you may want to rewrite it out with just version A and or version B. That'll be up to you, because I'm primarily writing it out as a teaching source as well as a playing source. Takes a little bit of concentration to differentiate between A and B, but I'm sure you can do it. Okay, so finally what I'll do is play through version A, and then I'll play through version B. 1, 2, and you listen for voice leading. 2, 3, 4. Probably sounds a little odd just leaving it there, but once we do the rest of the song, it'll make sense. Now version B, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so hopefully you can hear there's a little bit of richness in version B. And when I'm doing some of those play-alongs, sometimes it's a good idea not even to just play along, but to look at the music and visualize what's happening on the page. And so you can see what's happening harmonically, follow along with the bass lines, and try to see the areas that I pointed out. It's worth the effort. It just makes you a more complete musician. So I hope this is fun and enjoyable, and I always remember that you kind of enjoyed the learning part of it too, and the understanding, and that's why I put forth the extra effort to put these arrangements, to create these arrangements the way that I do. And we're not just saying, okay, put your fingers here and play those notes, because I mean, that's okay, but knowing what you're doing, or at least gaining a progressive understanding of what you're doing, is definitely the better way to learn. Okay, enjoy. Any questions? You know what to do.